I hadn't planned on eavesdropping. I was just walking by when I heard my daughter's voice coming from the living room. "Where did you get that from?" she asked, her tone sharp, not angry, exactly, more like shaken. "My classmate gave it to me," my son replied, like it was nothing. Then came the words that stopped me cold. "It's disgusting," she said. "How could she do that? I wish I had never seen it. But don't tell Daddy. He'll divorce her, leave us, and start drinking. Our family will be ruined." I went into my son's room. I picked it up, powered it on, and there it was. No password. Just a media folder sitting right at the top. The video didn't have a title, just a timestamp. I hit play, and I swear to you, I've never felt my soul leave my body before, but that was as close as I've ever come. I'll spare you the details. I won't describe it because, honestly, I can't bring myself to. Not yet. But let's just say that when the screen lit up and I saw what was on it, what she was doing, my brain couldn't catch up to what my eyes had already accepted. It was my wife. And it wasn't some old footage. This wasn't one of those, before we met, situations you can chalk up to history. This was recent. Real recent. I knew because the earrings she was wearing, those little gold ones shaped like stars, I bought those for her birthday just 2 months ago. She wore them to dinner that night when we took the kids to that Italian place she loves. Said they made her feel put together. And I believed her, sitting there across from her, thinking we were just a regular family eating overpriced pasta. But in that video, she was wearing those earrings for someone else. And she wasn't exactly dressed for a PTA meeting. I just sat there, with that cold little device in my hand, feeling like someone had hit pause on the life I thought I was living. I didn't bring it up at dinner. Didn't let on that I knew a single thing. The kids were talking about some science project. She was laughing like usual. God, she was laughing. Like nothing had happened. Like her whole life wasn't sitting on the edge of a cliff. I just nodded along, chewed my food, and pretended to be a man who didn't have his guts turned inside out. I know some guys might call that cowardly playing dumb, holding back, but here's the thing. When your house catches fire, you don't go shouting in all directions. First, you find the water. Then you figure out what's salvageable. That night, I waited until everyone was asleep. I stood in our bedroom doorway for a long while, watching her breathe steady in the dark, like she hadn't burned down the one place I thought was safe. I'd been with this woman for over a decade. I knew every freckle, every sigh, every expression she used when she was lying about buying another pair of shoes. But somehow, I'd missed this. I'd missed him. Whoever he was. The next morning, I called in sick to work. My boss was understanding. He's got 3 kids of his own, so all I had to do was mutter family stuff, and he didn't ask a single question. I waited until the house was empty. Then I got to work. I started with her laptop. Yeah, I know, I'm not proud of snooping. But let me tell you something. If you're married and digging through your spouse's electronics, you already know the marriage isn't whole. You're not invading privacy. You're confirming reality. Most of her files were boring schedules, email receipts, PDA notes. But then I found the folder. It was buried a few levels deep, like she'd tried to hide it from herself as much as from me. It wasn't labeled anything clever. Just miscellaneous, tucked right between a recipe folder and some tax documents. Inside were screenshots, messages, pictures. Not of him exactly, at least not at first, but from him. Messages like, "Last night was everything. I can still smell you on me. He doesn't touch you like I do. He doesn't see you." And her replies, flirty, smiling, willing. That word stuck with me, willing. She wasn't coerced, wasn't confused. She wasn't crying after the fact saying it just happened. No, she walked into it, eyes open, laughing. And suddenly, all the small things started to make sense. The extra showers. The sudden new lingerie she said she got on sale. The phone always face down. And maybe the most cutting thing of all, how she'd slowly stopped touching me. Not in a cold way. No big fight. No slam doors. Just less. A little less every week. Until one day I was more roommate than husband. Now, I wasn't naive. Marriage is work. People go through dry spells. But this wasn't a season. This was abandonment in slow motion. And she made it look so normal. The photos told me enough. They weren't explicit, but intimate. Him sending a shot of his coffee mug on our kitchen counter. Her legs propped up on the edge of a hotel bed I didn't recognize. A text bubble reading, "You're the only place I feel real." That one almost made me laugh. I built our life. I put in the hours, paid the bills, fixed the leaky roof, changed every oil, taught our son how to throw a football and our daughter how to ride a bike. I was the realest part of her world. But I guess some folks prefer fantasy over facts. When I finally closed the laptop, it was late afternoon. I stood in the center of the living room, sunlight sliding in across the floor, and I felt calm. Not peaceful, but clear. She thought I'd fall apart. That I'd drink, vanish, spiral. That's what our daughter thought too. He'll divorce her, leave, and start drinking. It made me wonder, how long had they known? How long had I been the last to figure it out? I just laid beside her like I always did, staring up at the ceiling, wondering when exactly the foundation of our home had cracked. Was it a year ago? 2? Or was it always cracked, and I just never had the right light to see it? There's something strange that happens when you know the person lying next to you isn't really yours anymore. It's not like in the movies, where the cheating spouse tosses and turns with guilt. No, we both slept like statues. She snored a little, rolled away from me like usual. And me? I stared at the ceiling, counting each slow blink, thinking about the man who'd taken my wife and the kids who already seemed to know. I didn't touch her, didn't speak, just laid there. It was the most alone I've ever felt in a full house. The next morning, she left early for a friend's baby shower. I kissed her on the cheek before she walked out the door. She smiled at me like nothing was wrong. I watched her drive away in the SUV I paid for. Then I grabbed a notepad. You see, I'm not a loud man. I'm not the type to throw plates or storm out in a rage. That's not my wiring. Never was. But I am the type who takes notes, who tracks receipts, who builds a game plan like I'm laying tile, one square at a time, no cracks, no shortcuts. So I made a list. That last question. I wrote it down, then stared at it. Did she love him? Honestly, I didn't know if the answer mattered. It wasn't about him. Not really. It was about me. What I'd built. What she'd torn down. My wife hadn't just betrayed me. She'd disrespected the family we made. The history. The foundation. And if there's one thing I don't take lightly, it's someone treating my commitment like a doormat. I started checking timelines. Pulled up old bank statements. Matched dates on the photos I found. Looked for receipts, charges she wouldn't think twice about. Hotel names. One was a Hilton just 40 minutes from our house. She could have been home in time to help our daughter with algebra, but instead, she was, well, you get it. I called out of work again Monday. Told my boss I had the flu. He said, you sound fine. I said, it's the kind that starts in your house and works its way through your bones. He paused, then just said, take your time. God bless good bosses. The kids were at school. I had the house to myself. I stood in the kitchen for a long while that morning, just stood there, thinking about how many nights I'd made dinner while she was at yoga or helping her sister, stirring the pot while the pot was already boiling over somewhere else. And then I thought about the kids. I thought about my daughter's voice. Don't tell Daddy. He'll divorce her. Leave us. Start drinking. Let me say this plain. I don't drink. Haven't touched the stuff since I was 27. Not even a beer during football games. I watched it chew up my dad, and I promised myself I wouldn't let it chew up me. But that comment from her? It told me something. They've seen this before. Not in me, but somewhere. Maybe in a friend's house. A neighbor's. Or maybe just too many TV shows where the dad falls apart and the family pays for it. But I wasn't going to fall apart. I was going to get quiet. Still. Focused. Like a carpenter measuring twice before the cut. Later that day, I drove to the school to pick up the kids myself. I usually don't. I work late, and she handles all that. But today, I needed eyes on them. When they saw me pull up, my daughter looked confused. My son smiled, but it was that kind of unsure smile, like he was waiting for a shoe to drop. We got in the car. The silence was thick. I didn't push, just drove. Then, halfway home, I asked, soft as I could. Hey, I know you two were talking the other day. Something about a video. My daughter looked panicked. It's nothing, Daddy. It's okay, I said. I already saw it. He looked down at his lap, then said, I didn't mean to show anyone. I didn't even watch it all. She gave it to me. And I didn't know what it was. Who gave it to you? He hesitated. Emily. From class. She said her mom was talking about it. Her mom. Not a student. Not a joke. Adults were talking. Which meant this wasn't just a scandal in our house. This was gossip in someone else's. Maybe even multiple houses. When your kids look at you different, you feel it in your bones. That night, after I picked them up, I caught both of them watching me over dinner. Like they were waiting for me to break. Like I was made of glass. I wanted to tell them I was fine. And lying to them felt like lying to myself. So I didn't fake much, just gave them steady, quiet. The kind that holds things together when everyone else is waiting for the roof to cave in. They went to bed early. Probably didn't want to be around me. Can't blame them. The whole house felt like a stage now, and nobody wanted to be in the spotlight. She came home late, wearing a new blouse, smelling like some perfume I'd never smelled on her before. And I noticed those things. You don't spend over a decade with someone without learning their scents, their tones, their tells. I asked how the baby shower went. "Oh, it was sweet," she said, setting her bag down. "Lots of pink onesies and way too many cupcakes." I just nodded. She never even asked about the kids. Not once. That's when it hit me. Really hit me. She wasn't just hiding something. She was living somewhere else entirely. Mentally, emotionally, maybe even spiritually. We were in the same house, but we weren't in the same story. I waited until she went to bed, then checked the SUV's GPS logs. She didn't go anywhere near that baby shower. The car had been parked outside a hotel on the other side of town for 5 hours. It's amazing what you can find when you start looking at the truth head-on. She was getting bolder. I think she believed she'd pulled it off, that I was either too dumb to notice or too weak to act. She'd underestimated me on both. The next day, I met with someone I hadn't seen in a while, Jerry. Old friend from my early 20s. Used to work tech security, but now freelanced for small businesses, doing digital cleanup and system installs. He owed me a favor. I helped him rebuild his back porch after his wife left and took everything but the dog. So when I asked if he could help me with a sensitive situation, he didn't hesitate. I slid the laptop across the diner booth. Told him what I'd found. He didn't even flinch. "How deep you want to go?" he asked, cracking open his coffee creamer. "Deep enough to know what I'm dealing with. But clean. No drama. No hacking. Just info." Jerry nodded. Phone records, social profiles, deleted messages. If she's using any public apps, WhatsApp, Telegram, anything cloud-connected, I'll get a mirror of it. How long? 3 days. Maybe less. I thanked him and left a 20 on the table. He waved me off. "Don't thank me yet," he said. "Cheaters aren't just messy. They're expensive." I spent the next 2 days like a ghost in my own house. She was chirpy. All smiles. Asking if I wanted to take the kids out to the movies over the weekend like nothing had changed. And maybe that's the part that cut the most, how easily she switched gears. How she could live 2 lives and still show up to the breakfast table like everything was normal. One night, I caught her humming while folding laundry. That same pile of laundry had one of his shirts in it. I recognized the logo from a picture on her burner phone. By Friday afternoon, Jerry called. He didn't waste time with greetings. She's been using 2 messaging apps, one for family, one for him. The second one's buried behind a calculator app. I mirrored her cloud backup. "You're going to want to sit down." I was already standing in the garage, where I do my best thinking, tools on the wall, lawnmower humming softly in the background. Something about that space keeps me grounded. Build it with my own hands. Nothing fake about wood and steel. Jerry sent me a zip file. I opened it. There were dozens of conversations. All from her to a contact labeled only J. I knew right then that wasn't short for Jennifer. It wasn't just flirtation. These were full-on fantasies. Talk about what-if scenarios, our place, next trip, when the kids are older. She wasn't dipping a toe. She was swimming in it. Happily. Some of the messages were brutal. Blunt in a way that didn't even try to hide the disrespect. He still doesn't know. Poor guy is clueless. It's like living in a play. I say my lines, he plays his role. Sometimes I think he wants to be lied to. I wish I could say those words shocked me. But by then, I'd already buried the version of her I used to believe in. There were pictures too. Not graphic, but intimate enough to make my stomach twist. Her on hotel beds. Her with that soft look she used to save for me. I sat with all of it for a long time. Not because I needed to feel sorry for myself, but because I wanted to make sure I didn't act out of emotion. You see, when a man's been cheated on, there are 2 roads, rage or clarity. And I'd already chosen clarity. It was time to start building my exit plan. And it had to be done right. First thing I did was take screenshots of every message. Dated. Labeled. Saved copies on a thumb drive and hid it in the basement behind the fuse box. Then backed that up again in cloud storage under an alias I hadn't used since high school. Next, I met with a lawyer. She came highly recommended, sharp, no nonsense, divorced twice herself, so she didn't blink when I laid out the facts. Just nodded and started writing. I told her I didn't want revenge. I just wanted control. I wanted custody options. Asset protection. I wanted to protect the kids from being used as leverage in a guilt game. And I wanted to make sure I wasn't walking away from this with nothing but the clothes on my back and a bill for alimony. She asked, "Do you want to confront her first or file first?" "File," I said. "But I want her to feel it before she sees it." She raised an eyebrow. "Explain." So I did. I told her I didn't want a scene. I wanted a reckoning. I wanted to flip the script without raising my voice once. To let her walk right into the reveal on her own. Like handing someone a matchbook and watching them realize they're the ones who set the fire. The lawyer leaned back in her chair and smiled. "I don't usually say this, but I like your style." I gave her the green light to start the process quietly. No sudden moves. Just paperwork. Time steps. And then I started phase 2. That weekend, I took the kids out just like she'd suggested. Mini golf, milkshakes, the works. Made sure they laughed. Made sure they remembered what a normal Saturday used to feel like. And in between holes, I told them, "Hey, just so you know, you can talk to me about anything. I mean that." My daughter nodded quietly. My son just said, "Okay, Dad." They didn't ask questions. But something in the air shifted. Sunday morning came like any other. Coffee was brewing, birds were chirping out back, and she was scrolling through her phone at the breakfast bar, sipping oat milk like someone who still believed she had the upper hand. She didn't notice I'd made an extra stop the night before, or that the legal packet I tucked into the drawer above the toaster wasn't full of coupons this time. I'd spoken to the lawyer again that morning. She'd laid out the next step in the plan. "Calm as you please. Don't serve her yet," she said. "Let her sit with the silence. You've got the power now. Make her wonder." So I did just that. I made her wonder. Started by being pleasant. Not cold. Not distant. But oddly centered. Like the eye of a storm. "Want to go for a walk later?" I asked her that morning. She blinked. Sure." We walked the neighborhood trail like we used to, hand in hand. Except now, I wasn't holding my wife's hand. I was holding the memory of her. The ghost of good intentions wrapped in skin I no longer recognized. She talked about how she wanted to redecorate the bathroom. New tiles. Brighter colors. I just smiled and said, "Sounds nice." She didn't know I'd already rerouted the joint bank account that paid for home projects, or that my name was now quietly attached to a second one in a different credit union across town. It wasn't revenge. It was preparation. That afternoon, she left to meet her sister. I didn't say anything. I knew where she was really going. I had the hotel reservation. Jerry had emailed it to me. Room 215. Same place they'd used 3 times in the past 2 months. The front desk wouldn't even blink when she walked in. While she was gone, I went into the garage. Opened the old cedar chest where I keep things that matter. Not valuables. Just truths. Stuff that reminds me who I am. I pulled out a picture of our wedding day. She looked beautiful. I'll never lie about that. Radiant, even. But when I really stared at it, I saw something in her eyes I'd missed the first time around. She looked excited. But I looked, sure. That's the thing. I'd walked into our marriage with both feet on the ground. She floated in like it was a fairy tale. And when reality started setting in, life, bills, responsibility, she drifted right back out. That night, she came home late again. Hair down, shoes in her hand, smelling like somebody else's cologne. I was on the porch, beer in hand. First one in a long time, but I wasn't drinking to forget. I was toasting the clarity. She looked surprised to see me out there. "Hey," she said. "Didn't think you'd still be up." "Yeah," I said. "Just thinking." "About what?" "Everything," I said. "Marriage. Kids. Life. You ever think about how fragile it all is?" She gave a nervous little laugh. "Are you okay?" I smiled. "I'm better than I've been in a long time." She stood there for a moment, half in the light, half in shadow. Then she said something that nearly made me laugh out loud. "You're acting weird lately." "Weird?" "Right. Because showing up, being present, watching your own house with open eyes, that's weird when you've been invisible for so long." I just said, "Maybe I'm just waking up." She didn't respond. Just muttered something about being tired and slipped inside.